with my clients, something that I do behind the chair all the time is this. I say, Bernard likes to use Mrs. Jones. I say, Mrs. Jones, all right, this is the color you want to be. This is what we're going to do for you this time. And then we're going to repeat this color for you 2 more times tops. So this visit you come in, you get the color that you want to be. The next visit, I'll touch it up for you. I might tweak it slightly. Then the next time after that, I'll tweak it one last time. I'll adjust it for you. But then I start saying, hey, this is, I appreciate that you've been enjoying your winter collection. Now, this is the last time we're going to start touching this up. We got to start talking about, while I'm coloring your hair, we got to start talking about what we're going to do come next time I see you for the spring. And that's going to start moving you into your spring collection. And when I was explaining this to Bernard on one of our, I think it was the client journey video series that we did on YouTube. And we were talking about how do you keep the client excited and how do you keep them motivated and keep going. Bernard absolutely loved the fact that I don't even give the client a choice in the matter. I only will repeat the same color or the same look on them 2-3 times the absolute most. So then once we get to the third one, I start forcing them into thinking about it and agreeing and getting ready that we're going to start moving into the next one. So now that you're back, I was explaining to them how the whole collection thing even got started and how you were so excited about how that whole thing even got started.
Are we on YouTube yet?
We're already live and I'm already been talking.
Oh, okay.
I've been keeping everybody entertained with the behind the scenes of what happens and with our...
Uh-oh. I had 2 dogs. I only see one.
Casper walked up behind you, so he's in there.
Yeah, Casper's right here. Casper, you got to lay down while we do it live, okay? Go lay down. Come here. Get over here, boy. He's the young one. He don't know the rules yet. You get over here and lay down.
Walking off. I saw him walk off.
You saw? I ran to the restroom. I forgot I had them here. They were so quiet. And I was in the bathroom thinking, no telling where these dogs went. Anywhere in the office. So
it's like kids when they get quiet is when you should be worried because that's when they get themselves into something.
Right. That's when the sneaking starts happening. Problem is I forgot, so I didn't even know. So anything I need to say, or should I just sit back and relax?
What is the winter collection with hair extensions this season?
Yeah. So we don't bore TikTok because we already did that first. We went through. I'm gonna summarize and go through it really quick. So when we go through, I don't know. I don't think it's boring. I think some people might not have got it because we went through it so fast. Let's do it. I think that most hair extension packs come in 25 strands, right? So if we're going to talk about collections for people with extensions, we're talking about little small jobs that you can just fit in on clients all the time, anytime. Go ahead.
Okay, then let's say it the right way. If you're using single strand extensions, most of the time they come in 25. There are some brands that come in increments of 10. If you're using tape, they can come in 4 pieces, 8 pieces, 12 pieces per pack. If you're using weft, generally that's 1 weft in a pack. And if you're using clip-ins, usually they come in like 7, 9-piece sets, whatever they are, right? So we're talking about 1 pack of hair. What can you do? We're pretty much going to heavily focus on strands because that's the most fun you can have with a collection. And we'll be referencing wefts. If you're using tape and clip-ins or any other type, Bernard said that you suck and you shouldn't be using those.
I'm not even going to talk about clip-ins because I want to talk more about more semi-permanent types of extensions, not the temporary where you just put them in for the night and lose them on the dance floor kind of thing. I want to, and what he's talking about, I'll do my rant about hand-tied a little later, how stupid they are, but I didn't want to lose. Can we edit that out? I don't want to lose those people just yet. You'll hear my opinion about hand-tied in a little while.
Oh, my God.
But
so, yeah, that's the 1 pack that we're talking about.
But 1 pack of hair. I think too often people think of extensions as like, God, I get it asked all the time. I want to take your class, but what do you charge? What should I charge for hair extensions? What do they cost? What I should charge? Because I just don't know if the people in my area will pay for it. Yeah, people in every area get hair extensions. So forget about that. So, all right. So forget about that excuse, because the more reasonable reason and not so much excuse is the very busy hairdresser. Already booked solid, working 40 hours or more, 40 hours a week or more, but they want to increase their pay. So first you struggle with this, how do I make more money? First thing is get booked solid. Second thing is raise your prices, but you're friends with all these clients, you feel like. So you feel like raising the price. It's funny. I'm going through a very similar thing right now in my hobby. I asked my wife, I said, we just bottles. We ran out of honey for the season. We don't harvest honey again till about June. And I say ran out. We got like 2 or 3 cases of 1 pound bottles left for friends, family, and for our personal use. And it's
You freezing up? Did I lose you? I don't know
thought,
what Bernard you're trying to talk about, but you're cutting out really bad.
you know what? I'm watching the phone over there where that's also plugged into the internet, and I see it going through some weird things on the screen. So I think our internet's giving a little trouble.
Say you cut out where you were saying about the honey. You're running low and you're not harvesting.
It's the
it this
internet.
season.
I see the phone having some internet problems too. Yeah, so I'm running low on honey, and I told my wife, I said we should have raised the price a few months ago to slow down the sales. She goes, no, to our neighbors and friends. And I'm like, that's exactly what hairdressers think. They don't want to raise the price because they're friends with the clients. And so if you don't raise the price, how do you make more money? So there are other things that you have to raise your prices. Just don't do it as much. There's a bunch of reasons you should and can. But what you can do that is more palatable to most hairdressers is do more expensive services. And then you don't have to justify it as much. You're like, I'm doing extensions now, start high priced, and start to put hair extensions on some clients. And then you're charging for a bigger service that takes a little more time. And it just kind of pushes some of the other clients out that pay the less money. So that's one way of doing it. But then you're feeling bad because you're pushing clients out. So one of the things you can do is small jobs, highlights, thickening services, fantasy colors with extensions, because you can buy 1 pack of hair. I don't know, it's all different prices, but roughly, if you're just buying a little bit of hair, anywhere from $40 to $80, maybe $100. And let's say you're spending $100. Let's just go up a little. You spend $100 on a little bit of hair. You can charge $200 or $300 to put that in 10 or 15 minutes. You can almost fit that in on every single client all day long. So if I want to take somebody and just add a few strands to the side to thicken their hair, or a little money piece, or anything just to change their hair a little, a few little highlights, a little bit of color, a little bit of thickness, I can do it and make an extra easily $200 per client all day long with 10, 15 clients. And there you go, another few $1,000s per day, because it's easy to do. It's easy to sell. But most of you guys don't sell. You just wait for it to happen because you believed that stupid commercial way back when they said, just build it and they will come. Or you went to school and your teacher in the hair school, who's never worked in a salon or built a business of their own, I know some of you guys have, and I really appreciate that. But so many teachers are failed hairdressers. I don't know how to make it in the real world, so I'm going to go teach. And it's sad. I've experienced it too often. And I'm sorry, but they should not be given advice on how to make money in the salon because they don't know and they've never done it. So in school, they tell them, you should go get a job and you got to go rent a station. That's what you need to do. You'll make more money like that. Well, they don't. Because they're not doing it. That's another one we should talk about, Eddie. Put this on the list. The difference between hourly, salary, the rental, and the commission.
Oh man, you'll get me going on that one. So good.
Which job should you do? So it doesn't really matter which one you're doing right now. The trouble is, how do you make more money with extensions? With anything, actually. But with extensions, if you're going to put a few strands in and charge a little bit of money, you can make so much more money. The sheer name of extensions is what messes up extensions, right? Because people automatically think in their little small town, people aren't going to pay the $2,000 or $3,000 to lengthen their hair, but they don't need to.
Well, this is the whole thing. Yeah, because no, I completely agree with what you're saying. It's the age-old thing all the time. everybody that ever gets interested in hair extensions always says, how much does a full head cost? How expensive is it? Everybody innately understands that it's expensive. Everybody's just trying to play the game with how expensive can they afford? How much expensive can they afford? But I always start the conversation backwards. I always say, what is your main focus? Would you prefer to have volume and thickness, or would you prefer to have length? Now, I understand everybody's going to say, oh, I want to have length, or I want to have both. Yeah, of course you do. But the way I look at it is this. Every single woman that I have ever spoken to in my entire life has always said, I need to have more hair. I need to have more thicker hair. I used to be so thick, now I'm thinned out. And I look at them, and this is the joke I always make. When they was passing hair out at the buffet, they got greedy and went multiple times. They didn't just go get one serving like a normal human being. They went and got 3, 4 servings. They got more hair than should be humanly allowed.
And everybody's jealous.
And everybody's jealous.
They didn't leave enough for the rest of us.
Seriously, but then look at them. If that woman had hair for 3, 4 people, and now she only has hair for 2, 3 people, she has thinned out by her own merit.
Even though her hair's thick, she wants more.
It's still thicker than the average person. It is thinner than what she is used to having.
Definitely.
So even she wants thicker volume and fullness. Now, lengthwise, yeah, sure. Majority of the people are going to say they want long hair, but not everybody has long hair. Maybe only 80% or 70% have long hair. There's still 20, 30% of the population that are rocking shorter hairstyles, and they are sexy as hell. And long hair is sexy as hell too. But that's the fun of it.
And it's super expensive to do a full head of extensions. And if you're slammed as a hairdresser and you're trying to make more money, if you actually make the recommendation, let's talk about this for just a second. What are the things that when you build it, they will come a little bit? Like, oh, if you put a little post out there to all your friends and family, I am a hairdresser. They come in and get their hair cut, maybe colored, maybe highlighted. That's about it.
I wrote an article on this. You want to know exactly?
Nope. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
I've been ranting about this for 2 weeks now.
Yes, I want to know. What do you mean? What do they come in for?
62% of services is haircut and styling. 23% is hair color. 8% is retail. And 7% is all other services. All other services including brows, lip, chin, waxing, hair extension, smoothing treatments. Only 7% this is for last year, 2023. So you're telling me that there is 93% growth margins available for any other services.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So, yeah, okay. Most hairdressers don't consider themselves salespeople, you know? They can't sell.
Yeah,
so
I got myself in trouble for I'm an artist, not a salesperson, right?
Yeah, so what do? They go somewhere. First of all, definitely don't want to go rent somewhere then, because you have to sell if you're going to rent. So you're going to go to a salon where it pays salary, hourly, or commission, because the owner is going to help build your clientele. Okay, so they're marketing, you're getting a few clients in there, and they're coming in for basic haircuts, like you just said, the big stuff. So then, what are the things, if you wake up, what if you woke up or waked up and decided, I need to add a little bit? Our kids, a couple of our kids, as they were growing up, they would say, Mommy, I waked up.
I thought you were hanging out with me too much, and you're starting to sound like I talk.
No, we like to talk like the kids sometime and say, Mommy, I waked up. And I'm like, hey, good morning, I waked up. But what are the little things that you can add to an existing client to make more money? And I was going to go with all the waxing services first, right? Mustache beard trims on guys, waxing services on guys and girls. What else can you do? What else do you just like, let me add a little? Like if you're looking at your numbers for the week and you care and you're trying to grow a little and you're like, ooh, I'm going to be like $200 short this week if I don't do something more. How do you add 200 to your book with the existing clients you already have?
Your go-to, like you said, is waxing. That's a quick one. That's an easy one. That's probably the least time consuming out of everything. Yep. You can do a sealing treatment add-on to your blow dries. That's a little bit more time consuming, a little bit more effort because you got to apply it and then you blow dry.
Like a clear coat?
Clear coat is another one that you can do, but that one is a little bit more time consuming. That's the next step up in time. You don't believe in
Keep
it, but
going.
it's an
Keep
add-on.
going.
Deep
Yeah,
conditioning treatments after hair color is another
that's
easy
good.
one. Especially if you're running behind, you can throw them under a dryer and pretend like you're doing something under the dryer. And then building. So those are the quickest ones with less than 15 minutes that could be done to build up a service, and it won't make you
And
run
then some of
terribly behind.
some of the ones that you might be just assuming that people are doing that they're not doing is shampooing. Because a lot of people do just dry cuts or spray water bottle cuts.
True. I'm in a
And
full
they
service
clearly,
salon, so I always forget about shampooing is
yeah.
not included for
So
some people.
especially with men,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love my freaking hair shampooed. I love it.
yeah.
And so many people, if I just go to get a haircut, they're like, "You want me to shampoo it too?" I want that more than the haircut. And then the other part we're assuming is the blow dry and style. A lot of salons just cut and they don't style or charge for it. So get your customers used to your really good styles. So those are some basics, right? And then there are more expensive, more profitable things you can do. And that probably be where the clear coat comes in and a little more time consuming things. What would those be? What things that cost a little bit more money, a little bit more time, but still are possible to do as add-ons without a
Um,
lot of extra time?
so clear seals on color, especially if you have people that are going on cruises. A lot of people are going on cruises right now a lot, so you can do those. That'll give them a lot of UV protection against the sun, especially if they're not going to be wearing a hat, stuff like that. You could do your in a one step above a deep conditioner would be a mask treatment. So the difference between a deep conditioner treatment and a mask treatment would be deep conditioner is really quick. It'll soften up the hair. It'll recondition, revitalize, and soften up the hair. A mask treatment will penetrate, rebuild, and reconstruct to a certain degree. So that's the difference between a mask treatment. Then the next step up from there would be where you start getting into your express treatments like express keratin treatments, for example, are really popular. You could do those. You could do, I don't know if anybody remembers the cellophane treatments, but some people are still doing those as well too. So those would be more time consuming. Now you're up into the 30-minute block instead of 15, 20 minutes. Now you're into 30 minutes because it's all labor intensive. So that's where you start building into longer services in that way. Then you start building into hair extensions, and this is what we're talking about. The power of one pack of hair. So with one pack of hair, oops, lost him. So with one pack of hair, let's see, how do I do this? I don't know how to do this. Yeah, with one pack of hair, what you would do is you would put in, whether they come in increments of 25 or you do increments of 10, if you're using individual strands. All right, well, we're going to have a little bit of a problem here. Here we go. We'll just do this. Whether you're doing increments of 10 with one pack of hair or you're doing increments of 25, depending on what brand you use and how those hair extensions come, that's how you would do that. Whether you're using tape-ins, sometimes they come in 4 pieces per pack, sometimes they come in 8 pieces, sometimes they come in 10 pieces per pack. Whether you're doing wefts, usually those generally come in just 1 weft per pack. So that's where you start putting in your trends. That's where you start getting into your add-on hair. And with add-on hair is different than a full head of hair. There's a huge difference in that, because when you're doing a full head of hair, you're just spending your time going through, adding in everything you can, and then you're done. When you're doing add-on hair, what is it? Is it framing just around the face? Is it building in the style? Is it filling in the front volumes? A lot of the haircuts, especially with longer hair, and especially when you're doing length on hair extensions, it's only focusing pretty much in the back of the head. Well, that's giving you a lot of length. Yeah, sure. But a lot of people, a lot of stylists don't put hair extensions further into the front, on the sides. They use the top of the head to the top of the ear as the break point. They leave the front half of the head and the back half of the head separated from each other. So if you're only putting hair extensions in the back and you're not putting anything in the front, you start looking kind of like a mullet. And if you start kind of looking like a mullet, that's really bad because, I don't know, most of the time you start seeing this short to very, very long. So being able to fill in a couple of pieces on the sides and just balance that out, now you're going to be able to not have to push all that hair forward. And then, because if all of your length is in the back of your head and you're pushing your hair forward all the time, then you have no hair in the back. So you're always off somewhere, somehow. That's not necessarily a good thing, right? So filling in on the sides, whether you put in, say, 5 pieces on one side and 5 pieces on the other side, that can fill in really good. You put in 1 row of 5, another row of 5 on each side. Now you've got 10 pieces on each side. Now you've got more volume and thickness in addition to some length. Or say you have a dedicated part to one side, right? You don't necessarily care. Or because this is the lighter side, there isn't as much hair on this side, it already looks good. But a lot of people on the other side where they have their dedicated part, because you have more hair traveling over there, what ends up happening is it looks a little thin, or they'll have extensions over here and then they'll have some weird layer or some weird weight line halfway across. By adding in a couple of extensions through the top there, you break up that weight line a little bit and now it looks more blended in. Those are, for styling trends, that's an options that you can easily discover and do with one pack of hair. When it comes to color trends, something that's really powerful and really fun, depending on the season, go with the color that's trending, go with the color that's popular, or go in and blend in with what they have. What does that mean? If you're going to blend in with what they have, I have dark, so my hair is black. I use level 2 hair color. My hair is black. Okay. I can simply go 2 levels above, put in some level 4 or put in some level 5, and that'll look like a really soft blended highlight. It won't be a heavy contrast. Or I can go with an extreme contrast and I can put in some blonde too if I wanted to, for example. But that's the difference of what I'm talking about. You can go in with something blended, or you can go in with something contrasting. How do you do that with one pack of hair? There was a study that was done in New York. There was a salon that did an experiment, and what they did was they refused to continue using powder bleach and lighteners for their highlighting. And what they ended up doing was they swapped out every single thing with highlighting, with a pack of hair and highlighting. Excuse me, with 1 second. Do you have Discord on your phone? So what they did was, because they swapped in 1 pack of hair extensions, any client that asked for highlight services, they would scatter a pack of hair extensions around the perimeter of their head, or excuse me, around the parietal ridge of their head, and that would give the client a highlighted effect. What they found was they were able to advertise chemical-free chemical services. And it was an insane marketing concept. It was an insane marketing idea. And it worked out really nicely. It was really, really cool. So here, we got Bernard back, so I can go ahead and do this. How's your, do a sound check for me.
Hello.
Cool. So what I'm talking about, since you cut out, is I was talking about how you could do 1 pack of hair. And there was this salon in New York that stopped doing highlighting, stopped doing foils. And anybody that asked for a highlight, they would do it with 1 pack of hair extensions. And you were kind of describing the placement of this. They would go around the parietal ridge, and they would go around the perimeter through the crown with 1 pack of hair. And the way they scattered it, that would give them a highlighted effect. And that highlighted effect, and that salon was able to advertise chemical-free chemical services. And it was an amazing advertising thing. They actually saw an increase in their profit margins, in their retention and clientele, because you can't go anywhere else to get that service done,
That's
right?
true.
How is somebody going to copy your foils? There's no foils. And so then the stylist saw an increase in pay as well too, all the way around. It was awesome. That placement pattern on how you start from the front and how you make sure it's all even across, go through that, because that's a really nice, easy way of keeping that organized.
Right. So then you don't have to have any math or figure it out. Well, I got nervous. I had 25 strands and I wanted to evenly place them. I want to mention it's raining real hard. We're getting a lot of like emergency flash flood warnings on our phones. I was in Starbucks yesterday and like everybody's phone went off at the same time. You know,
Oh
and so
yeah.
it's raining real hard and we lost our power just went off for like 2 seconds and popped back on, but the internet took longer to load back up, knocked me off of here. So I ended the TikTok video, and if I get knocked off again, I'm probably gonna just stay off this time because it's gonna keep happening. But yeah, so I got nervous. I had 25 strands. I went to put highlights in. I parted off my part all the way around from temple to temple, drooped it down a little bit in the back to stay away from the crown so they wouldn't show. And I put a highlight in here. And I did it on each side just to know, like, how far do I want to stay away from the hairline? I got those in. Then I started looking, thinking, how far apart do I put them? And I want to start putting them right next to each other. And then I run out halfway, or if I put too much space, I'll have some left over, hopefully. So I thought, what if I just went right to the middle in the back, put one in, and then I split it again. So now I got one here and one here. So then I put one somewhere in the middle, and then I put one in the middle here and the middle here. You know, so I just started splitting the difference all the way around. Then when I did that on this side too, now at this point I got a lot of my hair used up. Then I counted the spaces between the strands because, you know, I had the middle split here, here, and then twice here. So I was like 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces on this side, 4 on this side. So I've got 8 spaces to fill. How much hair do I have left? If I had 16 strands left, well, I knew that was 2 per space. If I had 8 left, it was 1 per space. If I had 10 or 11, anything less than 16, it was 1 per space with a few left over, you know? So it was just a way. Then I had to say, oh, I had a few left over. Do I want to go a little thicker on the sides or the back? And so that's where I would use my extra 3 or 4 or 5 strands, and then I would use just like 2 and 2 and just make it a little heavier on the side instead of the back. So it was just a way to evenly space it without having to do any fancy math. Just keep splitting the difference.
That's cool. So one of the things while you were off, I covered the collection with styling. So just to recap real quick, if you have like a dedicated part like how I have, you can load up all the one pack on the one side and fill that in, because sometimes you get that break, sometimes you get that weight line. You can keep them balanced on both sides and fill in some nice face framing and bangs and stuff like that. Or you could do it to correct, like sometimes when you load up all the hair in the back of the head behind the ears, you end up with short to long. So you kind of have that mullet. So they're always pushing their hair forward. So you could kind of scatter that out to balance that out as well too. So that covered hairstyling. So your placement pattern for color, that's a really nice fun one. Another one that I like to do is I like to use the sideburn and go straight up. Obviously you got to leave the hairline out. You can't go all the way up to the hairline. But wherever somewhere in the sideburn, if you come straight up, you put one there, you put one right above the ear, you use the corner of the hairline at the nape, and you come straight up, you put one right there. You come from the center of the nape, you come straight up, you put another one there. If you use those points of the hairline and you come straight up and you put that on the corresponding spots, you could create a natural brick-laid effect and a highlighted effect with one pack of hair as well too. That's if you're trying to make a partial highlight, because then you would start at the parietal, and then you would take the top of the ear and you would come right across the middle of the occipital bone throughout the back of the head, and you would use those same points and you would scatter them through there. You wouldn't be able to put in as many. And then you would go right below the earlobe and you would come across the nape, whatever little spot is left there. So with 10 strands to 15 strands, you could create a partial highlighted effect by using those placement patterns. And the reason why I use those specific key points is because if a strand slides out for whatever reason, when a client calls and says, I lost a strand of hair, when they come back in, you have an easy replicatable placement pattern to work off of all the time.
Yeah, that's good.
So that's something fun to do.
So I do the same thing with the frame and the face. If we part to frame the face, I was trying to figure out, like, do I do it straight down? Do I do a little C curve right here? And I had a hairdresser in here watching me do it right before I was making a video. And she said, I don't know, I find the hairs that fall closest to the bottom of framing the face come from above the ear. And so then I started to part from right under the bang to behind the ear. And I noticed it almost ended up being where a lot of people put a wafted extension in. It was kind of that angle like this. So then I thought, again, I got a line that's from here to here. How many can I fit in there? What do I have? I have 25 strands. Well, I need an even number. Let's call it 24 strands. I'm going to put 12 on each side. Or less, that's fine. But if I have 12, can I fit 12 in there? If I just start putting them in the bottom and working up or top and working down, if I get to 12 and then I didn't get to the end, I'm always worried about not getting to the end or getting to the end with not enough hair. So I put one at the top, one at the bottom. And again, I split the difference, put one in the middle, and then one in the middle here, one in the middle here. So then I had 5 strands in, and I was like, okay, I have 5. Can I put 6, 7, 8, 9 in between each one? Yep. So I ended up with 9 or 10. So I had a couple of extra. So then on the side, like you said, the side where the part was over here, I could go a little higher up with those few extra strands and still frame the face and put a little more on the side that had a little more hair. I always love splitting the difference to do that.
Splitting the difference is a lot of fun because it keeps you spaced out, and then you can decide if you want to bunch up a couple. Like if you split the difference and you put 3 in, let's say I want to create a money piece because that's trending right now as well too, part of this winter. So then if you put 3 in and you have 2 more pieces, like if you're using 5 pieces, you put those 3 in, you put the last 2 pieces right in the front. So you have 3 pieces right there in the front, and then you have 2 kind of spaced out a little bit. That naturally creates a money piece by itself. So that's something that was really fun and trending. The cowboy copper color in particular is trending really nicely. You know, and especially in the wintertime, you asked me this earlier, reds and coppers, and I'm generalizing right now, but reds and coppers are always going to be the dominant go-to no-brainers in the winter season.
Right.
So any shade of, and especially right now, coppers are trending really, really popularly, really, really strong. Yep. Easiest way to do that, which a lot of people I don't think about, is use an optical illusion. You don't necessarily have to choose a red copper tone. You could create almost a coppery effect. And what do I mean by that?
I have no idea.
The number one thing about hair color is nobody wants to be brassy. Everybody thinks they see red. That is the number one all-time complaint and inside joke of any colorist is, I colored my client's hair green. She says she still sees red. What do I do? You know.
Cancel her.
Cancel her. So now, if you have somebody who's, say, a level 5, a level 6, if you put in a hair extension that's a level 7 or a level 8, by default, it's going to look a little brassier compared to what she already has. That might be copper enough without you having to physically put in a red color. Yeah, for her, it might be brassy enough. And that subtlety, that difference, might be the world of difference.
And just don't call it brass. Because
don't.
the same color. Brass, bad, copper, good. You know, isn't it silly? I mean, use the right. If you put cowgirl,
hairdressers right now in color,
right? Well, if you call it cowboy, yeah, if you call it cowboy copper, it's great. But if you call it orange or brass, it's terrible, and it could be the same thing.
You know what it actually? You know what cowboy? The reference, because they wear a lot of leather, and leather is nice and dark when it's fresh and it's hard. But then when it breaks down and it fades, it turns kind of reddish tan. It's brassy.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I was actually thinking it right before you started bringing it all up. I was like, cowboy. I was thinking of the leather boots. They're kind
Yeah.
of brassy.
Well, anything leather over time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
interesting how there's always got to be a label or a name to something.
So let's do this. If you're gonna, we went through the colors. I don't know. Did you do it on here when I wasn't here? What the colors of the seasons have been forever and ever traditionally? Just
Not
like
on here. No, I'll do it.
do the four seasons and the four whatever season you want to start with,
Well, we're in
and just
winter
do the.
right now, so I'll
Yep.
we're talking about the reds and the coppers. So if that's your natural baseline, those are considered warmer and those are considered darker colors. Well, blonde is also very popular as well too. So where do the blondes predominantly come in? That's where the spring, the next season after winter is spring. And that's where you start to notice a lot of people will say, I want to start going lighter. And so my little joke is that's when you should raise your corrective color prices. Because in essence, when you have somebody who's red or who's dark from the winter season and they want to start going lighter in the spring, that shouldn't be a normal
Double
service.
process,
That's a
at
double
least.
process, right?
At
So that,
least.
technically speaking, is a corrective color. Even if it's on your
Yeah.
own work, it's a corrective color. And it's not
Right.
your fault.
Maybe we should come up with a new name for it, so we don't call it
Um,
corrective.
it's crazy requests, crazy client requests. That's the
Right.
new name
Well,
for it.
going lighter from dark, it's like triple we used to have single process, double process, and basically double process meant corrective. And then when we started toning every freaking color under the sun, everything became double process. So now it's almost like we need to say double or triple because nothing is single anymore.
That's
And
wild.
what would you call it when you're correcting your own work because you're going from dark to light? You're right. It is a corrective process, uh, a corrective treatment. The process is like corrective color, but you don't want to say corrective because then you're saying you made a boo boo.
And you don't want to admit
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah.
so that's the
Oh, you're wanting to
springtime.
do. So now we're going from the dark to light process.
Mm,
That's involved,
mm.
so you got to have some other way of describing it. But yeah, you're right. So then let's go into the fantasy world of like Frozen. Or
Well,
did you finish your
then,
seasons?
well, that,
Did
that,
I?
that that's the summertime. Summertime comes around and everybody wants to be white as a piece of paper,
Yeah.
and Elsa and Frozen. And look, she's really cute. The song is great, but that's an animated movie. That's why she's cute. And that's why that song is great because it's fantasy, man. Nobody should be walking around looking like a platinum blonde white piece of paper.
I
Platinum
like it.
blonde is a different, but anyways, I digress. And then you start getting back into the fall, which is going to start leading back into the winter. So in the fall, that's when everybody wants to start going darker again. And that's where the
Yep.
caramel tones and the brown tones start getting, heavily popularized. And then eventually
So the
trend
lighter
back into
brassy colors
reds.
before you get to the dark brassy colors.
This is exactly.
Because you're going from blonde and you're changing a little into a golden caramelly blonde, maybe you see how I say caramel instead of brass, or caramel instead of orange, or cowboy instead of orange or brass. And then as you get into the winter, you get into the deeper, darker browns and reds, huh? And so then if you live in Fantasyland, I mean, is Elsa really just platinum blonde? Doesn't she have some bluish blonde? Is there no blue in
She
there?
wears a blue dress,
That's what
and
it is.
because of the way the light refracts and stuff like that,
Looks kind of
um,
blue sometimes. So
sometimes.
be the strong, harsh, I don't know what you want, like more bold, more outspoken, bright fantasy colors for the seasons.
Okay, okay. So you're gonna have extreme contrasts
And we'll
between
do
the
the pastels at the
summertime.
same time. Like do the fantasy and the lower end, not so loud.
Your pastels are gonna be more in the spring. That's when
Oh, you
they're gonna
don't
be
think
the
you have
more
a pastel
popular.
for every season?
You kind of you okay. Lavender and pinks are gonna be in the winter time.
Yeah.
Um, red pastel, soft, soft reds and blues are going to be more in the spring. Think Easter,
Oh yeah. Okay.
right? And then in the summertime, you, yeah, you could pull a pastel in the
You can do
summertime, I
anything in
guess.
the
You pretty much
summertime.
do anything in the summertime. It's like a
Yeah.
no-brainer in the summer. And then when you get into the fall, that's when you start running into, oh, rose golds.
All the
That's
colors,
technically a pastel.
all the colors of the leaves that are changing in the
Yeah,
parts of the country where the leaves actually change. We don't have a lot of that down south. It's just real quick and they're gone. But there's
yeah.
parts of the country where the leaf change is just
Up by me,
beautiful.
up in the
Yeah,
Midwest,
and you can
sure,
mimic
absolutely.
all of those colors.
So that's
Yeah.
that's going to be the pastel versions. The bold colors, it used to be you would do your greens, blues, anything that was green. Okay, so you got your three primary colors, red, yellow, and blue.
Right?
So the red and blue primary colors ruled the fall and the winter season. Red
Mm.
and yellow primary colors ruled the spring and the summer is what it used to be.
And then you move into your secondaries and pastels from those. I got you.
From those. On nowadays, anything goes, man. You could be green in the summer, you could be green in the winter,
Right.
you could be a blue hair all year round and be screaming at the top of your lungs about whatever pisses you off. So, I mean, it doesn't
But
matter what you want to be.
but just for those hairdressers that don't do it anymore, because I don't even see it in my own salon, talking about a color for the season was just a fun way of fitting in, changing, having something to talk about, having a conversation, getting a client to they want to have fun and change things up, and it gives you a path, a journey to go
Mhm.
through to talk about with your client. Even if you talked about everything we just talked about, your customer can pick any one of those colors, just like you said, any time of year. It's still fun and profitable for you and fun for the client, but they can choose to follow the collection that you chose for them, or they can skip ahead, go behind. Maybe they just love blonde year round. That's fine too. But if they want to do the collection you recommend or follow a pattern, they can do that too, because some people want to change often.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you this way, a collection, okay, so say the client wants to be the same color all year round. You could still create a collection for them as well. Because in the wintertime, taking them a half a shade darker is huge. In the summertime, taking them a half a shade lighter is huge. Or letting their hair naturally lighten up during the summertime and maintaining that condition and tonal value could be a huge change for them as well too. So when we think about collection colors and when we think about changing your client's hair, it doesn't necessarily always have to be an extreme change. You could do a soft, subtle change, and it all comes down to the person, the individual person. You know, on some people, they're a little bit more conservative. So a half a shade difference is a world of difference for them. And I
When
think
I
that's
was
where a lot of struggles come in.
when my wife and I first got together, I was a less experienced hairdresser. I had been in for a while. We've been married about 23, 24 years this year. And so I was not as strong into color. I did a lot of extensions and just haircuts and I she wanted she wanted she just wanted to be around me is what she really wanted. So it was like, I don't know, what do you think? And so I was like, she says, I was thinking about highlights, and I said, let's try. What do you color you want to do? She goes, well, I don't want to do blonde. I don't really like to change much. She's had dark hair her whole life. She was worried that she would look cheap if she got highlights. It wasn't as popular 24 years ago. And so I did some, I couldn't even see it when I was done. I couldn't even see it on her head at all. It was red. We did like a deeper, darker red, but I didn't bleach it up enough, so it barely showed. It was like
Sure,
barely
sure.
deposited red over her already medium to dark brown hair. And I think this is 24 years ago, so I think we even pulled it through a cap. So it was little bitty pieces coming through. Pulled the cap off, wash it, dry it. I'm like, oh God, I feel stupid. Can't even see it. She's like, oh, this looks like hooker red. Like, I don't think that's actually a color, but she felt that she was so outlandishly cheap looking with her. So you're right. It's depends on what the client thinks, because I couldn't even see the highlights on her. I couldn't even see the red personally, but she saw a slight bit of red difference and she just felt not professional anymore.
It's wild.
It's
It's
crazy.
really, really wild. So you know, and every client is going to be different. As some clients are going to be wild and they want extreme swings in change in visual
Right.
changes, and that's beautiful. You know, and then there's going to be some clients who, you know, a nuanced or subtle, you know, more conservative changes are going to be huge to them. Here's an opportunity in doing one pack of hair.
Can you see it better now?
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. I love the way those colors are all combining together. It gives it a nice flow to it, you know, and that's the whole thing. If you look at last year, I've been writing articles about this for the past 2 weeks now because I've been ranting and raving about this. I can't get over this. In last year's trend, only 23% of all salon services accounted for hair color. Only 7% accounted for highlighting services. So there is
Wow.
such a huge opportunity.
Look
Well,
up.
now that's too bright. Now you're getting a little crazy.
I know you're right on me too. Go ahead with
Where
your
were you on the
percentages. I'm
night of the
sorry.
25th? It's like when you see those movies where they're interrogating somebody in
Oh,
the
yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead, speak up, man. Speak up.
Where were you at the night of the
Yeah.
25th? I was like, what is he talking about? So
So
yeah,
it's
talk about your
yeah.
percentages.
So if only 23% of services rendered last year were hair color and only 7% were hair extensions and smoothing treatments, what a huge opportunity for growth and profit margins. What a huge opportunity to be able to speak to your clientele about something fresh, something new, something exciting. And even if they don't go for it, it doesn't matter. You should still talk about it because the number one reason why a client switches their stylist and goes to a new stylist is for change. And it's for change because that change was suggested to them by a family member, or they got bored, or they watched a video such as this and they heard that you should get something new, you should get something, you know, different. And they're like, well, my stylist never, you know, my walk in and my stylist always says to me, oh, same old, you know, or oh, I'll go mix your color, I'll be right back, do you want a cup of coffee? Like they never sit down and do a consult to say, hey, have you decided to do anything different? Or have you planted the seed in your client's hair to say, do you want anything different? It kind of goes back.
I'm guilty of that. I've had to color mix before the client walks in the door.
You've had the, yeah, I used to work with a couple of stylists that had that. And then if the client said, oh, I think I'm changing today, then the stylist
Nope.
got to sit there and be like, nope, you should stay the same thing. Either because they already had the color mix, they didn't want to waste the color, or they were running so far behind schedule that they were like, I don't have time to get into this with you right now. You know, we'll do it next time.
Right.
You know,
Right.
he's
I
so
got two
cute.
puppies here that think that our time is up. They're both like,
Wow.
it's been an hour, Dad. Let's go outside.
If you've got the storm going, they're probably freaking out a little bit as well, huh?
Yeah, the weather. Yeah, it does scare them a little bit when they hear the thunder, but they'll be good. They're just all of a sudden golden doodles. They're so needy. All of a sudden they're like, we need you to pet us, and they put their head in your lap. It's crazy.
Are they needy, or you're the one that needs to pet them and they just
I
know
don't
it and
know.
they're just
A little
appeasing
bit
you?
little bit of both, maybe.
Codependency for the win.
I'm gonna
All right.
I gotta go. We
So
gotta
yeah,
end this.
that's one pack of hair. I mean, that's all the infinite possibilities. So don't just think about it as only one pack. Think of it
Right.
as the opposite. There is a lot of potential in there.
Yeah.
Leave us a comment. Let us know what you do with one pack of hair. Have you worn it? Are you the client who has worn it? How much fun did you have with one pack? Are you the stylist who never thought about it? What opportunities do you think you can have now? And if you are the stylist who's using one pack of hair, share your insight on it too. Help everybody
Good.
on here, you know, learn
Yeah.
about it.
Help us learn some new
Yeah.
patterns, techniques, how to use it. Yeah, great idea.
Thanks for watching. Catch you next week.
Bye.